So, friends and family, welcome back. I'm Son, and today we're going to do the battle between David and Goliath, part 3, the Valley of Elah, that we see uh, just behind us. We'll get to that. But I want to do kind of like a recap through this model for your better understanding the Philistine side versus the tribes of Israel side, where they came from which directions, and where they met. Well, we could see here a nice model that shows us the Mediterranean Sea. Mediterranean Sea, and on its shoreline, three cities that were built by the Philistines: Ashdod, Ashkelon, and Gaza over there. And further into the land, two bigger cities, Gath and Ekron, somewhere around here. The tribes of Israel, of course, they came from within the land. We could see up above here the Judean mountains, Hebron, Bethlehem, Jerusalem, the tribe of Judah, Benjamin over here, further on the tribes of Israel, and around here the Dan tribe. The Philistines came from the west, and the tribes of Israel came from the east and from the north as well. And they met around here in an area called Emek HaElah, the Valley of Elah, known also as Ephes Damim. So folks, we're standing above this hill called the Azekah Hill, or the Azekah Mountain, looking toward the southeast, looking toward the Elah Valley down below. It says in 1 Samuel 17, from the beginning, now the Philistines gathered their armies together to battle and were gathered at Sochoh. Sochoh is further through this valley area over here. This is Sochoh, which belongs to Judah. They encamped between Sochoh and Azekah. So the Philistines came from the west, from the shoreline, gathered from Azekah all the way to Sochoh. But I believe eventually this is where the armies of the Philistines gathered against the tribes of Israel. And then it continues by saying, verse 2, and Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together, and they encamped in the valley of Elah and drew up in battle array against the Philistines. The Philistines stood on a mountain on one side, and the Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, with the valley between them. So if the Philistines were here to the west, most likely in Sochoh eventually, the tribes of Israel were on the other side, right over here, coming from the mountains, coming from the north. The tribes of Israel here in an area, well, there are ruins of a city called Shaaraim, which we're going to go to, and the Philistines on the other side with the valley between them, just as scriptures tell us. So now we're looking toward the west. We're still on Mount Azekah, and around that direction, that's ancient Gath, where we filmed the first part of David versus Goliath. Around there, you could understand how the Philistines made their way from the west and then came here first. It's very clear when you come here, huh? And then from here they walked along these range of mountains all the way around until they gathered on the mountain that is just above the valley area. You see all the trees over there? That's Sochoh. All around the mountain and gathered around there, while the tribes of Israel came from the mountains further off, meaning the Judean mountains, and gathered upon this hill down below, opposite to the Philistines, and the valley between them. So friends, coming here and visiting these different sites, you could really understand their importance. For instance, Tel Azekah, where we are now, by the way, they're doing a dig right now around here, so maybe in another year or so there will be an actual site with archaeology that we could visit. Tel Azekah used to control the main road passing from north to south. You could see the high grounds. You could understand why you wanted to protect this area from the Philistines or just protecting your main roads. But then looking towards Sochoh and Shaaraim that we're going to visit later on, you could understand why they were built. The fortresses over there between the valley area to control the road heading up to the Judean mountains, protecting Hebron, Bethlehem, Jerusalem, and other cities inside the land. So for now, we'll leave this Tel and let's head closer to where the battle actually took place. Let's head to Sochoh. So folks, from here we're having a close-up view toward Tel Azekah. Now we're on the Tel of Sochoh in Hebrew. This is still the territory of Judah, Azekah and Sochoh. But that was the area where the Philistines came from Gath and the Philistine city and gathered in Azekah. And from Azekah they started walking along the mountains to our left, to the south of the valley of Elah, until they gathered around here where we're standing now. Tel Socho used to be a fortress city that controlled the main road, the valley of Elah, heading up toward the Judean mountains, Hebron and Jerusalem and others. But in the battle between David and Goliath, this is where the Philistines stood. You could just imagine the armies of the Philistines here. And a giant, Goliath, heading every day toward where the tribes of Israel were, crossing the valley area where the battle will take place, and the tribes of Israel on the other side, upon the mountains, close to the ruins of the city that was known as Shaaraim. So from here, from where the Philistines stood, just before the battle, cursing the tribes of Israel, we'll head to the other side, to where the tribes were. Let's go. So now, friends, we're at the northern Pillar Mountains, where the tribes of Israel gathered. Across us over there, in Sochoh, from Azekah to Sochoh, that's where the Philistines gathered, a valley between them, and the tribes over here. Nearby here, archaeologists found an archaeological site that is known as Tel Socho. We think it's biblical Shaaraim. Sha'ar in Hebrew means gate, Shaaraim, double gate. Now a gate of a city was a very vulnerable area. From there the enemies would attack. They would have to fortify it properly. Having two gates, that would be very rare. But get this, in this site we found double gates, two gates. More than that, we found ceramics and olive pits that after doing carbon dating, we found out that they date to the time of David, around the middle of the 11th century BC, around the year 1040, 1050 BC, something like that. So there was a city fortress here and in Sochoh that was from the tribe of Judah, this territory of the tribe of Judah territory, that would protect the people passing through this valley area heading to the Judean mountains on top, or heading back from there. From the mountains, the Judean mountains, from Bethlehem, David came down, entering this valley area, bringing food to his brothers and for the people of Israel. And after entering, he heard this giant where the Philistines stood, cursing the God of Israel, and he wondered, why isn't anybody doing anything about it? He came here, he saw the tribes, the people of Israel, frightened. Nobody would dare to fight against this giant. I'm thinking in the area of Shaaraim is where the leaders gathered inside the fortified area, Saul and his companions. And along the mountain you had the soldiers of Israel all around here. And then when David, finally someone volunteered to fight, I'm guessing they took him into the secure area of Shaaraim, and over there they tried to put the armor on him and all that. Eventually, from here, David would head down the mountain, gather the stones, and attack, and bring victory to the tribes of Israel. So now we've arrived to the valley of Elah. The name Elah comes from the tree that exists here. It existed more so in biblical times, called the Elah Atlantis, meaning the pistachio tree. Because of the many trees that existed here, the name was given to this valley. And now we're looking toward the east, meaning the Judean mountains straight ahead. To the right, we could see the area of Sochoh, where the Philistines gathered all around here. And to the left, to the north, we could see here the area of where the tribes gathered upon the mountain. This area is mentioned as Ephes Damim. Ephes in Hebrew means zero, Damim blood. Does it mean zero blood? Meaning not two armies fighting one against each other, but choosing one man to fight against each other, which was, I think, a very advanced way of thinking. Why should so many die? Let's choose one from each group and let them fight. The winner takes it all. Think about that. That's an impressive way of thinking. But could it also be Ephes Damim, meaning the place where we gather Damim? Damim was a currency in ancient times. And if you remember, in part 1, we talked about the Philistines having the monopoly over iron. Could it be that in this area, in this buffer zone, is where the tribes came maybe to pay tax, so the Philistines would not go deep into the land and attack them? I don't know, it's a theory of mine. Could also be the area where the Philistines sold all kinds of items, tools, weapons made out of iron, and then the tribes came here and the Philistines and them met and they fixed it. And as I said before, we found the serial number of one of these tools in the territory of Israel. That was a tool of the Philistines. It could be. Anyway, we're here, and this is where the battle took place. Now, I mean, when you come here, it's quite impressive because not much has changed. Whereas in areas all around Israel, I'm guessing all over the world, when you come to an archaeological site, there's a visitor center, there's a nice restaurant, a souvenir shop. But here, this is kept natural, like it was in ancient times. Sure, you have a vineyard here in front of us where people grow their produce. But you could understand it. I mean, it's all natural, like it used to be in ancient times. And I love it. Now, imagine David coming from the Judean mountains, gathering here in the territory of the tribes of Israel. They were also fearful, for the giant, for 40 days, morning and evening, came toward the tribes and said, "Come on, fight, choose a man." And everybody was so afraid to volunteer, of course. Back and forth, until this young lad, this David, came and said, "I'll go for it." And after they tried to put the suit of armor on him, the shield, he said, "That's not me." He took his sling. Remember, the Philistines had the monopoly over iron, so I don't know how much the Jews, the tribes of Israel, had an option of training with weapons, right? But what we have here in the land of Israel, everywhere, stone. So you could see it with your eyes. David coming down from the mountain, coming around here, choosing 5 stones, and then heading forth to fight the war of the Lord. And get this, I mean, David did not think that he's going to engage in battle. I mean, he came here to bring food for his brothers. He didn't have any weapon on him. Okay, he had a sling, but he didn't bring any stones that fit his purpose. The Lord provided the weapon. As David came down, took the 5 stones, and went straight toward the giant. And with one single blow, he brought him down and won the war. And it happened around here, no doubt. Right over here. And as this mighty Goliath got hit by a stone, he did not fly back, but he fell on his face, kind of like bowing down before the God of Israel, the same God that he cursed so much beforehand. So folks, we're here. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. I haven't visited these areas for so long. I'm so happy I could do it with you. So until next time, be blessed and see you soon.